Many parents are now hearing the term sexting with primarily teenagers, although it happens with kids in elementary school. Sexting refers to the transmission electronically, digitally, of sexy talk, sexual messages, or sexual images, pictures, that are transmitted usually over a smartphone or cell phone, but also through the computer. So it's sexual content, either a message, text, or an image that's sent to a peer or an adult. Sexting has received a great deal of interest by the media. There have been news reports that as many as 20% of children are engaging in the activity of sexting, sending sexual images or text messages to each other or to adults. The Pew Center, which is a very reliable think tank, estimates it's more like 4%. And so it's by no means normative behavior at this point. So that's a number that seems reliable, about 4%. There are two broad categories of sexting behaviors. There's what is called aggravated sexting, which is sexting that has intent to harm. It could be the use of an image or a message to blackmail somebody. It could be to intentionally harm them through embarrassing them and ruining their reputations. There's aggravated cases where adults are using sexting to solicit sex from a child. And then there's what is called experimental sexting, which is kids using sexting to experiment with their sexuality, either with a romantic partner that they have or to attract attention from another peer that they know. So usually kids see texting as a form of flirting or a form of sexual expression, and for the way they look at it, it is less risky than face-to-face sex because they can't get a sexually transmitted disease, they can't get pregnant, and they can actually control what's going on. So there's a very interesting perspective that teenagers have who are in this experimental group. The aggravated group is a very serious problem and also can include the transmission of images of underaged teens, 15, 16, that can be prosecuted as child pornography. Parents wonder if all sexting is illegal, and the fact is that it's not. What is illegal and what has been a real problem for district attorneys all over the United States is when an underage teen, say a 15 or 16-year-old girl, sends a picture of herself to a boyfriend who, in the picture is that she's partially nude or nude. He then broadcasts that image to his friends. This usually happens after a breakup. And both the girl and the boyfriend are then prosecuted for child pornography charges because they have now transmitted an image of an underage, or in this case a 15-year-old girl, over the internet, which is actually a crime and a federal offense. So they have had a lot of issues now within various district attorneys' offices across the United States as to whether to prosecute these kids as actual criminals who have engaged in child pornography or to deal with them in a different kind of way. Teens view sexting as a form of sexual expression, and in some cases it's used to send a sexually suggestive, nude, partially nude, or message to an established romantic partner. And in some cases, it's used to invite or flirt with a partner. So in most cases, it's a form of sexual expression that is a digital aged version of sexual expression. With that said, sexting can be used to harm and injure, humiliate, and embarrass teens or peers by virtue of acquiring an image or a text that is compromising due to its sexual content, and then sending that out over the world of cyberspace with the intent to harm the sender. Parents wonder if it's smart to check a phone, particularly a smartphone, to see if their child or teen is engaging in sexting. And although it is advisable to check the content of your teen's phone, if you give the teen a phone or a child, and it has texting capacity, you should check what they're texting. What is interesting from the research is that checking doesn't decrease sexting. Kids that are going to get engaged in this behavior will do so even knowing that their parents will check. So although it's advisable, it doesn't result in a decrease in sexting behavior. Parents ask me, what should they do if they discover text messages that are sexually explicit or suggestive, or they discover an image, a picture, a video that is that involves their child, that is nude or partially nude or engaged in some sexual activity? How do they handle it? The most important thing is to talk to the teen and talk about what it is that they're doing. What are their motives? Why are they engaging in the behavior? Parents really need to understand what's going on in order to maybe improve teens' critical thinking skills about the possible consequences of sexting, rather than just come down hard on them and block it. It's better to understand the behavior in order to help the child understand what they're doing, rather than simply adopt a ban on maybe having a smartphone or texting. Parents wonder whether teens who engage in sexting really don't understand the consequences of sexting to their reputations. One thing is certain, many teens don't understand that it is technically illegal for a minor to send images of themselves to another minor or to an adult, because it actually violates child pornography laws in every state. The question about reputation is more interesting. There are reputational consequences to teens for all kinds of sexual behavior. Offline sexual behavior has reputational consequences, and online behavior has reputational consequences. So the way teens see it is they both have reputational consequences. They understand that, and they're willing to deal with that. Parents have a different understanding and different standards about reputation, but teens are definitely aware that there are reputational consequences, and sometimes will opt for the online consequences versus the offline.